All right. So, first part of this, I'm going to give you some teaching. This is going to help a lot. For those who don't know me, my background, I've spent 20 years competing and professionally training, running a studio, and of course, sharing my knowledge online for the last, say, I'd say 10 years, but really it's been the last couple of years. And if anyone's on Instagram at the moment, feel free to come over to the YouTube channel as well and join me there. And if you're on Facebook, same thing. It's easy to be in one place to answer all the questions. But one thing I wanted to share, and I find this a big problem, right? So this expands to all creative endeavors. So music, art, writing, entrepreneurship, because of course, to do that requires a fair amount of creativity. It's very easy to get in your head versus being in your heart. And by heart, I'm not meaning like your physical pump. I'm talking about the emotional side, right? The feeling, so to speak. So let me differentiate between the two and help you understand a fantastic way for you to maximize your lessons and also sort of compound your learning over time and to get the most out of, say, not only what you do with your practice and your training, but to, I suppose, maximize your own potential, okay? Because everyone dances for different reasons at different ages. And remember, as I'm going through this, leave your questions below because I want to do a bit of a Q&A at the end. And if you're joining me live, we will do that for you now. I can bring you in as a guest as well if you want to, and I'll put that link up in a second. So if anyone out there does lessons, okay, but then you wonder, what the hell did you just do like a week later? Or you find out that it's been a year of training or lessons and you can't quite remember your basics. One of the problems is that I'll give you an example. I have a student who's been dancing for, say, 30 years, okay? And she comes from a very technique-heavy background, which is great because that's what I do as well. I teach technique. That's what we focus on. And technique equals freedom. The thing is, though, you can only do so much technique before you sort of have to let it go. One of the issues with training in ballroom dancing is you can get caught up in it only ever being about the technique. It's very easy for that to happen. And less than 10% of what you do is judged on technique, unless you're doing medal exams, which is all about that. But stay with me on this and understand, when you're doing a competition or a performance or a showpiece, what people are judging you on and what you're being judged on is body tone and body language. And that's like a good 93% of what you do. It isn't the technique itself, but that you need the foundation of the technique for you to become, to be able to access, right, the movement, to be able to access balance, to be able to access, well, not really balance, but let me lay it like this. If you don't have a base skill set that allows you to move properly, especially in time with the music, you are not going to look very good. Your performance value will suck. But one of the problems is that each lesson can always be revolved around technique, right? Each lesson can always be revolved around the next thing you need to learn. Each lesson can be revolved around fixing and putting in new habits. And then all of a sudden, a few years goes by and you haven't felt like you've progressed as much as you could. And how are you measuring that progression? Often it's from the feeling that you have as a dancer. And you go, I'm just not feeling connected to the music. Or I watch myself on video and I don't look like I'm portraying how inside I feel. And this is one of the complex things about dancing, is that you can feel the music because you hear it and it makes you emotive. But then when you go to move and you're in motion, the feeling you have about that music does not get portrayed. And that's really complicated, but that's what skill sets are about in dancing. That's what being able to have mastery of your technique allows you to do, is for you to match what you feel from hearing the music and be able to express it in movement. And so that takes time, right? That is a lifetime pursuit. So there's sort of no arrival point with this. But one of the ways that you're going to be, and that's sort of the framework of what I want to talk about. How do you actually get there maybe quicker? What do you actually have to do? Here's what you want to approach your lessons like. There's the way you use your head, and then there's the way that you use your heart. And that's the two sort of ways I want you to think about learning, okay? So you have your head and your heart. And remember, questions below as we're going through this. So what is in the head? It's the brain. This is where your logic is. This is where your reason, your analytics, and all of the information comes. So the way you think about your head when you're in a lesson is that you are updating your software. Okay, so you've come in at a certain level, and now you're aiming for the next level. And the teacher or the coach in front of you is going to give you that information, so you can now download that information. Update the software, so to speak, in your head. So think of your head like a computer, and you're running the latest iOS to get the software up to date. And each time you do a lesson, that's what's happening. And that's the neural pathways, right, going into your muscles, because it's not really muscle memory, but you're actually training your nervous system each time you dance, all right? Now, in your heart is where the emotions are, and it's the feelings that you have. It is the expression that you give. Basically, with the feeling side of things, what I want you to be aware of is that there's a disconnect between the two for most people. So very logical in a lesson, very logical in training, very logical when it comes to moving around the dance floor to music. But then there's a point where you have to let go of all that and almost turn it off and get into the heart side of things. Now, the heart, the way I want you to think about this is that you're downloading the information into your body, okay? So you're updating software by learning, and you're downloading the information into your body each time you practice. Now, when you get into your heart and you actually move and you start dancing, there's a sort of emptiness there in a way, like it's a bit vacant, and that's a good place to be. You want to get to a space when the music is on, that you're not thinking about what you're trying to do. It's very difficult to do, but it's what I suggested this lady I was teaching who's had many, many years of experience. I said, you need to learn to let go. You're so used to being in your head when you dance that you're blocking yourself, and your movement suffering, your connection to the music suffering, and of course then you feel like you're suffering because you don't have a connection at the end of it to yourself, but also to the music and as you're going through it. So it's a really weird thing, right? You can actually go through all your dancing, you can go through all your movements, you can go through all your routines, and not once did you feel like you were dancing to the music, right? Has this happened to you? It's happened to me. And so you will understand this if you're aware of it. So if you're aware of what I'm talking about, what you do is you learn to switch off. And I encourage my students when they're learning with me that be analytical, write things down, get in your head, connect the pieces like Lego, right? A goes to B, B goes to C. There's a pattern in everything you're learning. That's what technique's about. But then when the music is on, when play is hit, you have to turn that off. That's what you train yourself to do, and trust your body. Now, your body is amazing. It'll give you a feedback mechanism. It's normally it's what we call a feedback loop. So you'll know if you're off balance because your body will tell you, right? You'll know straight away. You'll know if you made a mistake because your body will tell you. But if you try to correct it in the moment, this is where the big issues happen, right? The big issues happen when you're trying to dance and then correct yourself at the same time. You're trying to dance. What's up, Flashdance on Insta? Nice to have you. Thank you. When you try to connect your... Okay, so another example is this. The music comes on, you're thinking about your routine, what you want to accomplish, what you want to do, and then all of a sudden, you're overwhelmed and you make a mistake. And that balance issue, like you lose balance, what that does is it wakes you up, right? Like you go back into your head and you start thinking, oh, how do I fix that? And you think, oh, it's posture, it's feet, it's technique, it's my center, it's my partner, it's where I should look. My chin should be up, my rib cage should be out, my posture should be vertical, my pelvis should be aligned, right? Like all these crazy things. You can't do all that at once, right? Like if you think about everything that happens in your body, you're not in control of most of that. I think there's like 1 million chemical reactions in your body every few seconds. And so all of these things are happening in the unconscious part of you. So if you try to fix everything when you dance as you're moving, that's one of the hardest things to do, but it's also a bad habit. It's something I did a lot of myself. So my encouragement to you is this. Differentiate between when you need to update the software from learning, like, okay, that's a new piece of information I need to put in. And then when you need to download it, right, into your body through repetition and really focused practice, and then letting it go when the music's on. And that's how you do it. It's quite straightforward, but you have to catch yourself. As soon as you lose balance, as soon as you get woken up again because you made a mistake, you got to turn it back off again. And I remember my coach one day when he was helping me with something, as we were dancing, actually was asking me to tell me what I have for breakfast. So there I am doing a foxtrot, dancing around the floor, and I'm like, oh yeah, I had chorizo with eggs, cheese on a roll. And he's like, oh, was it good? I was like, it was fantastic. Before I knew it, I danced around the floor. And the reason he did that is he got me to switch off the thinking, because I was overthinking, right? And that's a very big problem when it comes to learning. So I hope that piece of information helps you. I'm going to leave up the Q&A board for a couple more minutes just to see who's here and who wants a little bit more. And let me know your struggles. Like, do you find that issue as well as you go through things? I know from working with a few hundred different dance couples, and of course thousands of students, that issue is very, very common. So that's how you do it. Turn it off, turn it on. Now let's get some music going, give me some questions, and we'll finish off the night together on a cool Friday. There was one more thing I wanted to give, and by the way, shout out to everyone on Instagram for joining me. Thank you for being here. I haven't actually done a live yet on Instagram, so nice to have you all. So here is, so this one will be related to anyone who's doing performances. Okay, so if you are a pro-am dancer, performance artist, showcase dancer, dance sport competitor, or you're doing any of those sorts of things, even medals, this will help you. So recently I had a couple that have never ever, well, one had never done a performance before properly, and they're about to go in front of 200 people. And so one of the things that I suggested to them to do, because they were so caught up in their head, getting the routines and getting nervous, fearful, full of doubt, full of worry, every time they made a mistake, that they just couldn't complete the choreography. So I created a 2-minute piece to Michael Bublé's Sway. And again, it was very challenging choreography for them. What I would suggest to them, though, is I said, okay, you go through the learning phase, you've got the pattern of the routine. That took a month. The second month was sort of, okay, now we've got that, we're going to stylize the pattern. You're going to make sure you hit every part of that song that matters the most with, a shape and a big line. So it gives a wow factor. That was another month. The third month, I was like, okay, now that you've done that, the main thing you've got to focus on for your performance to be amazing, molto bella, right, is you need to give yourself out of every, because one of the problems was that they were practicing again and again and again and again, but it was all rubbish, right? Like it was quantity over quality. And so what I said is just calm down on the amount that you're doing. Let's aim for, out of 10, you need okay. So on the night, I've got to frame this properly. So on the night of a performance, do you rise up to your level of preparation, right? Or do you supersede it? Do you just magically dance better or perform better on the night? And the answer is you rise up to the level of preparation, and often you drop below it. So there's many instances where you'll go dancing, okay, and you'll just bomb, right? Like you've trained and it's just, oh my God, it's embarrassing. You never want to do it again. Then there'll be other times you're like, oh, it was amazing. I want to do it again. That was awesome. And what's the difference? Well, experience is one thing, but also the incorrect way of preparing. So here's what I suggested to them. I said, look, out of every 10 run-throughs you do from beginning to end, one is good enough right now for the performance Saturday. 9 completely suck. All right, they're not good at all. You need to get the ratio up. You need to get at least 7 out of 10 where you feel that that would be worthy of being in front of an audience. Okay. If you can get that 7, and then the next time you come in, you can do the 7 again, and your next time a 7, you now know that on the night, you've had a better strike rate. And when you go on the floor, you are going to drop your performance standard down, but you know it's not going to be where it was at the beginning of this month, which was like a 1 out of 10. I'm not talking about a score here. I'm saying that every 10 times they danced, that 1 was, the least amount of mistakes, on time. They did all the hits. They went through the pattern properly, and it was for their level, and their experience was good enough to be in front of people. 1 out of 10. So 9 were like embarrassing. Okay. And we all knew it. So we'd make fun of it and be like, this is, I would joke saying like, they're killing me. I'm getting gray hair from this. Like, what? You're not paying me enough. What am I doing? And we'd always have a bit of a joke. But what ended up happening from that shift in the mindset, right? The psychology, was they started going from just running through it to really focusing on doing 1 extremely well, to the best of their ability, right? Really making sure they were disciplined. And then they would do it again. And if they made a mistake, they had to start the process again to get to, a 10, to get 10 run-throughs to the point where they were really good. Now, what does this represent? Often when you go through steps and patterns and routines and choreography and a show or a showpiece, what ends up occurring in your mind is you start saying to yourself, oh, the next one will be the best one. I'll do it on the night. You start lying to yourself like, oh, I'm underdoing it now because I'm tired. I'll do a better one in a minute. And that's part of the issue, right, with your mindset, is you want to get to a point where you treat, because your body doesn't know the difference between real and imagined in the sense of training. Life is always occurring, okay? So there's no differentiation. Your body doesn't know at all if what you're doing is what you should be doing. So in essence, there is no practice, right? So what you should be aiming to do is get yourself in a habit that every time you move, it is as precise and accurate as you can make it. It's as with much feeling as you can make. It is with the right intention. Everything is as you want it to be on the night. And if not, don't do it. Because now you're confusing your body. And this is what I was saying to them. I was like, you're confusing yourself and getting into a negative loop, because one moment you're dancing really well, then halfway through, you drop the energy, you drop the performance, you drop the energy, the consistency. And what you've just done is you've told your body it's acceptable to make that mistake. And you've trained yourself in that moment to make mistakes. So you either go into it and finish it, even if it's average, but you don't keep going and meandering through. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that psychological switch makes a huge difference. And again, in a way that's going from your head to your heart, that sort of relates to this, because you're teaching yourself using discipline that you only have this moment to do the work. And then you set yourself the micro goal each time you set it in the studio. It could be 5 run-throughs, it could be 10, but each one of those has to be, and you score, you look at that and go, 4 out of the 5 were performance ready. I would be happy if I did that in front of people. Or 8 out of the 10 were. You're not going to get 10 out of 10, okay? Because you'll make some mistakes, you know this. But that psychological switch will make a huge difference for you, okay? So I guarantee that if you try that, the outcome will be massively different. But you don't have to believe me. Run the experiment. And this is the thing I always say, is like, try it out, run the experiment, see if it holds true for you. I reckon it will. Now, if anyone has any questions about their dancing or whatnot, it's a bit of a quiet night tonight in the Q&A section. That's cool. But awesome to have. Oh, I've got friends from Italy up in here, Chile, England. What's up? It's cool. I would leave you with that. So here's the formula, okay? Correct repetition over time times your discipline. Give yourself the goal, give yourself an outcome, and then write to me, info@boringmastery.com, what your outcome was. In the meantime, I'm going to leave it there. It's been an awesome day, big day. I had a lot of fun putting up this new office. And lastly, there's a couple of announcements. I'd like to welcome Lisa Toms and Julie to Boring Mastery Academy. And hey, thanks to all the new fans. I think we're up to 30,000 on Facebook, 20,000 on YouTube. It's sweet. So I really appreciate everyone being here and the support on the channel. Make sure you join it as well. Okay, Ulrich, what's up, buddy? From Belgium, what's going on, little man? What figure can you do after an open natural turn and a whisk in the waltz? Well, I mean, a whisk goes into promenade, right? So any promenade figure. So chassé from promenade, big top. You could probably do another open natural turn. And there's actually quite a few you could do, but yeah, that's what I'd say. You just basically go into like a chassé. You could do a wing, right, and then move from there. Okay, it was good to hear from you. I hope you're okay. I hope you've been doing well. What's up, Jackie? Okay, I'm in a very chilled out mood today. So, anyone else? I'll leave it. The lag time's a little bit slow on this, so let me just check this one out. Okay. Yeah, back in the line of dance. Yeah, do a wing if you're back in the line of dance. Cool. All right, everyone. I knew this would happen. We always get the questions at the end. Love it, though. Better late than never. Let's just put on some background music while this is rolling out. Ulrich, also doing that, I'll just grab something. Yeah, of course. I don't know why I forgot this, Ulrich, but you can also do a weave, of course. Weave from promenade. Look at this, cross hesitation, left whisk. Yeah. That's really the main things you could do after the whisk. Don't get too caught up on the line of dance. Like, you can be backing the line of dance, right? And then do a wing, curve around, and like overturn it with like a telemark at the end. So, like, there's a few things you could do. It's not, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sort of steps in the basic syllabus, so to speak. Cool. All right. We'll leave it up for a few more minutes, people. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, the reason the wing is difficult to execute, Ulrich, is because the lady's coming on your left side. That's really unusual, right? So even with the boring frame, the man generally has a lady on the right side. There's very few steps where the lady comes on the left side. So most do find it difficult, but what you can do is make sure that you turn your body correctly so she can stay connected to you. So she sort of like rolls around your waist, right, from your right to your left side. And then most importantly, when you exit that figure, is to bring your right side around her. So say you do a wing and then a closed telemark. When she's on your left side and you step forward, she needs to step back in CBMP, right? You're stepping in CBMP too. But on the next step, you need to curve your body like, and I always encourage men to think of like a glove. So when you put a glove on, it shouldn't be stiff, right? It's too difficult to get in. It should fold into your hand, right? And then you can easily just curve the hand. Your hand should be like a glove. So when you come around a lady, you curve, right? Your body envelopes her. This is one of the things about turns that help me conceptualize what's happening, is that my job was to close the lady off, right? So to come around her. I wouldn't think of, just doing the step. I would often, would assist her, of course. It's called leading, shock horror, right? But I would make sure her success was mine, right? So I'd make sure I'd curve around her. So yeah, the wing is difficult because of that left side position. That's why not many steps are in the left side position, but it's not impossible. You just need a little bit of practice, and you need to use your bodies a bit better, I think, as you're stepping in CBMP. All right, y'all. Very, very cool. Okay. Last couple of minutes. If you got any more questions, Francis, Ulrich, Peter. Cool. So Ulrich, in the first step of the wing, I must change the lady from a promenade to an enclosed one. So the closed wing is done with the lady already. We're going backwards. You're going forward, and she's on your right side. She's closed. She's not in promenade. That's the closed wing, right? And then she comes on the left side. The wing from promenade, you'll both be stepping on step 1 forward in CBMP and promenade position. And then step 2 and 3, she comes around you. So it's sort of the same. So you do change in that instance from promenade to closed. Okay. It's a little bit more difficult doing it that way. Just there's so much strength on that first step, but like either way. So for example, if you do a chassé, okay, from promenade, the lady has closed in, and then you can do a closed wing where she comes around you. That's a little easier to get her to come around you. All right, remember to hesitate and keep your weight down as well. Don't rise through your right leg when she's coming around you. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Have an awesome weekend. I'm going to call it, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Till we meet again, and I have no idea this. where is the off button gone? I don't know. I'm going to play some music while I find how to turn this off. They've just changed it. All right, hold on. Let's get some more music, and maybe some other questions might come through. You're welcome. I literally can't find the off button. I ran an update on the software and they've changed it. This is awesome. Anyway. I guess you're stuck with me.